The winner was Lyudmila Rudenko, was a who was the leading woman player of that period, and I believe she was a widow, so she was a single mother. I believe her husband died during the war, and I believe she had some kind of STEM career like many of the women players did then, and so she basically had three jobs. So she was a chess player, she had her day job, and she was a single mother.
Wow.
Which is quite a lot.
Yeah. And oh, this is her. Okay. So she won decisively. And this was, by the way, this was the 1950 that Leah just sent us this article. This was 1950. Was it Women's World Championship?
Yes.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I love all the photos. This was, and I've seen stuff by Batgirl before, like a while ago, like, I don't know, like 8 years ago or something. She became a really big blogger on chess.com, right? Have you seen her stuff?
I haven't.
If you guys are mostly on League Chess, I think, right? As am I these days. But yeah, they have some good bloggers. Yeah, Batgirl's put some good stuff out. Check it out. So Amazon, and what does it mean by Amazons?
They mean like in the mythological sense of, according to mythology, there were
champions.
Well, I think in this context, they mean like, because in Greek mythology, the Amazons were these fierce warrior women who lived totally amongst themselves. They didn't have contact with men, and they supposedly cut off one breast so that they could more easily bows and arrows. So
but all
like, like super women.
Champions. I know what you
like
mean.
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, yeah.
Amazons. They're the Amazons, and they're fierce, and they're warriors, and to me, they're champions.
That's cool.
That's absolutely.
The Amazons have it out, and this is. And we'll go to the list real quick of the, which we've looked at before briefly when we looked at like Vera Menchik, going back to the early women's world championships. And I see there's Mora from Cuba. So we have obviously USSR, since they were really big into chess around the mid 20th. Got Germany, France, England, Holland, Italy, Hungary, and Cuba in the spirit of Capablanca. Yeah, pretty much that's the only non-European country. Just Cuba, and she got 6 wins, 9 losses. So there really there were like 4 that dominated. So she came a point and a half ahead of Rubtsova. Interesting. So Rudenko, and was she dominant for a while?
Yes, she was dominant for quite a while.
Interesting.
Go back to that picture, David. I want to see her face again.
Right. This one.
Yeah. Okay, so she's on the right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the KO at the end, right? And
okay.
So we have, she's fierce like Alekhine. If you look at Alekhine's pictures, like that guy was intense. You could see that same intensity in her eyes, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and it takes this kind of, what's it called? Constitution? What's the word? Just, just your spirit kind of like has to be super strong and, relentless. And that's her when she's younger, I guess. That's someone else, huh? Oh, from Czechoslovakia. Oh, those are the players representing England, Czechoslovakia, France.
I love that they got their cigarettes out.
Of course. Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
They said we're getting into all the things the men are doing.
Yeah. And as Leah said, with the outfits of the time. And that's USA, aggressor. Yeah, I haven't heard of some of these players. Interesting.
It's
So
like Lucille Ball.
mid-20th. Right, you said Lucille?
Yeah.
Right, same outfit, right?
And the hair.
Right.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, and now let's go, since we're on this. So this is that's it. It's just chess.com/article/view/titled-ladies. And let's go to I like that Wikipedia page. Well, if you look at the Wikipedia pages for the overall World Chess Championship and the Women's World Chess Championship, there's some really good stuff there. And there's a current women's champion, is it Zhu Wenjun, something like that. Yeah, and you see that it's really dominated by Chinese women these days. Yeah, it's interesting, more so than Chinese men, right? Like Chinese women's, women's chess is really dominated by China. Then obviously it was Russia, and most recently though, China and Ukraine. Because you had, Mizuchik and Ushanina in 2012-13 and 2015-16. That's interesting. So certain countries that are, better for men's and women's chess that differ. Okay, so we had, going back to the championships, we have 1927, and that's when Vera Menchik won. Hold on a second.
These countries obviously have very strong chess programs.
Yeah, we have, so we have Russia, and we have is that Czechoslovakia? Was that Czechoslovakia? Or what is that one?
That's Hamburg.
This one, and she was playing, no, in Hamburg, but her country she was playing under, she says Russian war in Czechoslovakia. Yeah, so it's probably under Czechoslovakia, right? And then she ended up, oh, that's interesting, Vera, and then Menchikova. And Leah, you can probably inform us about that. Like, isn't it like Kasparova? Like,
It's,
depending on whether they're Russian or Azerbaijani or.
Well, given the very complicated geographic and geopolitical issues of that region, I can't exactly say what she would have considered herself if one was to ask her, but in terms of the name, with a lot of Eastern European names, for women, you add the A, and you have the patronymic in after the first name. So her father was presumably some form of, his name would have been some form of Francis, and his name was, I think that might have been her husband's name, I don't know, but Menchikova would be the feminine form of Menchik. And I guess once she came to England, she just cut off the A to make it, I guess, easier for English speakers to understand.
Right, Russia, it says Russia just before 1928, and then Czechoslovakia between 30 and 37, and then she lived the rest of her life in England, and that's where she was murdered in the German air raid. You guys recall that, whoever was there when we had the class on her, like, I don't know, 6-8 months ago or so. And if you guys heard about that, it's really a pretty intense history. So she was born to a Czech father and English mother. So then she ended up basically, she ended up in both of those countries. First chess tournament at the age of 14, integrated school during, a lot of it. When you study chess players, like there's so much interesting history, like Fischer-Spassky match, height of the Cold War, like everything you study, it's obviously so mired in history. What's going on at the time, can't escape that. Or like people who ended up being, exiled from Russia, or expats like Alekhine in France, right? And then you have Fallujah, who left Iran for France as well, right? So it's political issues.
Maybe we should look at some of her games. She
Of Vera Menchik.
mentions.
Yeah, we can take a look at more of those. Those are great to see. Yeah, we could why don't we take a quick look? We could kind of just open up the current game. Speaking of, we have women's, is it called the European Championship? I think it is. And then there's the American Cup, which starts in an hour and a half. So right at 12, I think it was at what, 12 Eastern? No, I think it started at like 10 or something, the European one. And then at 2 Eastern, I think is the American one. So they had, I think they each had their first round. And she has a stamp, she's on a stamp in Yugoslavia. So yeah, really fascinating. So she's the first women's world champion officially in 1927. And then, and as you said, in Hamburg in Germany, she played an Austrian chess master. And she won and she won and she won. And she died with the title. Just like Alekhine, I think it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I recall, I think they both died with the title. And then, the last person she beat was Graf. Oh, I think we looked at some of the games against Graf. And then, and then she died with the title. So this was in Argentina. So it was in 1939. And then they didn't have another, well, she held the title for a while, then and then she died. And then 1950 was when it was in the, and then that's like the Soviet era. As you can see, they're all played in the Soviet Union for a while. from the 1950s until the 1984. And then finally, wait, when did, actually the Soviets kept dominating until when? And then it shifted really. It shifted with the fall of the Soviet Union, it shifted immediately. And then China starts winning. And then you have women, Chinese women's chess dominating. I think, and then you have Hu Yifan was, I think, the strongest. But she just left for other ambitions, right?
How you feeling? How you fun?
Yeah. And then you have
Simon
and then now
against
but June keeps winning. What's that, Nikki?
I played a Simon against Dijon in
Oh,
Las
really?
Vegas. Yeah. It was a big shining moment. I lost, but it was fun.
Which one?
Dijon.
This
yeah.
one? She's
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
She's the first Asian female to become a chess camera. Yeah, a lot of really interesting history just from like looking through the Wikipedia page and like clicking on the overview here. You can see so much. And you can click on each one. Yeah, there's really a lot of like rich resources through the Wikipedia page. I don't know what other site would be good, because it's kind of like chessgames.com pages, some of those free sites. Chessgames.com provides so much history. So if you were to click on, for example, if you were to look up, like if you go to Vera Menchik, and probably there will be some links to chessgames.com. But if you go to her, when did she first win? Was it 27? Women's world champion. So you'll probably see a link to her first match. And you can, I would imagine some of these would be through chessgames.com. Or some they're taken from books. Like this is pretty academic. Like they pull it from a lot of books, pretty thorough there. There's probably a lot of literature written about her too. Interesting to look into that. But if you go to her profile, I'll just pull it up real quick actually. If you go to Vera Menchik, chessgames.com. Oops, just see chess games, that's fine. So you see, I love this site because similar to Wikipedia, just get a nice overview. And there she is. There's her profile photo. And you'll give, and I think Graf is there. Yeah, there's her. She has one against Graf and against Thomas, who is arrogant, and she crushed him. I think that was Thomas. She played Sultan Khan. Interesting. So she beat Yue, the world champ, the champion from Netherlands, right? Kali, the Kali system, C3, D4, E3. She beat him. So really interesting. And this is going.
Oh, so she played these games against men and women.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's
so there's
cool.
some like, I think this was the one who was arrogant and misogynist, and she humiliated him.
If I play for moves, no less. Ouch.
Yeah. Pretty sure that was the game where she destroyed him. Yeah, did you get your motif here with the Rook H1 mate? So yeah, we could look at some of that. But yeah, so chessgames.com profile. But if you go to her, I was just mentioning, if you go to the match, for example, it should have it. Notable tournaments. Was it 19? Oh, they should have the World Championship listed there. Does it say 27 though, under tournaments? I'm not seeing it here. That's weird. Well, it's okay. Hold on. Go to 20. Where was her match? Okay. Well, if you go to Graph, no. Oh, I was going to go to the overall description. Oh, interesting. There's some record pronunciation.
Vera Menchik.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
All right. More share sound. Make sure.
Vera Menchik.
Menchik. Interesting. So you barely hear the I there. So if you go to her bio, where is her bio? Oh, here it is. That's pretty short, actually. I'm surprised. So she was women's world champion. Wait, do they not? I guess they don't have a section on her on the championship. I'm really surprised about that, because
No,
usually
it's at the bottom of the screen.
What's that?
At the bottom of the screen, on her game number 1, Menchik versus EC Price.
And then where is the Graph one? Oh, wait, did she play? Was it Graph or was it Price? First one.
That's the 1927 World Championship. She plays English apparently.
Oh, from the FIDE. Okay, cool. Yeah, you see, there's no hyperlink on there. They just didn't cover it, because usually there'd be blue right here. You can click on it. So that's weird. So I'm surprised. I thought you'd be able to learn more about it here, but usually you can if you click on. So like, for example, if we click on, I don't know, let's say, for example, more modern women's champ. Like, of course, there's Judit Polgar, the Polgar sisters. Have you guys seen that documentary?
No.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I think it talks about, starting with how her dad's like a PhD in education or something, and he trained them at a young age, and they all became like crazy good.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Susan was
On
her
Netflix
sister,
or-
Susan Polgar.
Yeah, Susan was women's, I think at least a couple times, right? Women's, well, let's
Yeah,
go to
the three sisters.
Yeah, she was women's world champion. And then that's interesting to get into like how she didn't want to play in those tournaments. So she was the top female rated player in history. So
Yeah, there's
she's
like a Susan, a
she's beating
Sophia, Judith, I
she's
think.
beating all the top players. What's that?
I think it's Susan, Sophia, Judith, three sisters.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Susan, Sophia, and Judith are the
Yeah.
top ones. Yeah. I mean Susan and Judith. Then Sophia's the youngest, I think, right? Was she like an IM or something?
Yes.
And then the rest, the other two are GMs. So Berke, she had like Hungarian, they're from Hungary. And then you have Shibin Anand, Mama Jar is very strong, Karpov, Shirov. So she's been all the top ones, Kasparov. And then here you go. So for example, the knockout tournament, and it's probably a pretty good bio. Yeah, see, there's a much bigger bio on her. Just depends on how much someone.
Polgar Judit.
Interesting.
Polgar Judit.
How much time someone wanted to put into this. But yeah, Wikipedia pages tend to be real good. So where is her first championship? You guys see where the first championship is? It shows that she had equal first against Anand, defeated, Navarre is really strong. He's from Czech Republic. She defeated Ivanchuk. So yeah, Ivanchuk among the best ever.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really big. She beat Topalov, who was there. He was world champion. I think it was 1-time or 2-time world champion, right? 3.5 to half. That's huge.
Whoa.
But I don't know if they actually have the so that's just his profile. But to actually find the matches, like, so usually it'll show the world. There you go. Yeah, so world champion. But if you click on this, it's a knockout tournament. So where are her games? Is she not listed here? Huh. Participants, you click on her. And then it will show you, yeah, those are her games. So she won, drew, she won, draw, she won, she lost, and she drew. So I guess it was Kalifman who ended up, I guess it was a knockout at that point. Oh, so he got 1.5. Yeah, he got 1.5 and she was knocked out at that point. That's a pretty nice run though. So she was, and then Kalifman was just a 1-time. He was just a 1-time champion. Oops. But those people that like whenever, or people who are either him, or who are, like Korchnoi, some who are never really, not your most notable names, but those are good to study too. You'll learn some interesting openings and stuff that they play. So anyway, that just gives you a sense where you can see there's that one. What's the second one? They were just, there was the knockout and then there was this one. And unfortunately, she just didn't do well in that. She was last place in that one. But she was competing, she was invited to the top tournaments there. And then you could just watch, like, as it said, there were dominant performances. So you just have to find the, I'm curious about the one where she beat Topalov 3.5 to half. That would be real. Oh, to win the rapid. Oh, here it is. So that's the tournament. Looks like you could find it there. Wow. So that's dominant, right? He didn't do so well. You had Ivanchuk and Topalov, some of the strongest in the world. When was this? 2010. Yeah, around that time, a little before then, maybe. I think Topalov was champion like a few years before that, maybe 06, around there. So you have her games from that. So she had 5 wins and only 1 loss. So there's Topalov 1. She beat him once, twice, 3 times, drew. That's huge. And then, yeah. So any one of those would be cool to see. Do you guys want to take a look at one of the Menchik games and Polgar game or something?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's go back to
I have a lot of respect for her, more so than ever, because I was reading on Twitter, she was talking about all of the terrible conditions that they had to endure to play these games. And so it gives me a lot more respect for her to come out winning, beating all these people, and enduring all of this crap that she had to endure just to be playing as a woman.
Right.
Absolutely.
She just jumped right into it. And but it's interesting how she didn't want to play in the women's only events.
Right.
Because well, it's also about like which pool you're playing in, because then you end up if so let's say you're playing with 2500s, and it's hard for your rating to get higher. So she's playing more with 2700s and doing well at that level. That allowed her, she was the strongest, but also if you don't play in that pool, your rating's not going to get up that high.
Right.
Enabled her to do that, and to prove that she can, that she can play it,
And still
people
endure
at
all this,
better
all
level
this
for the top
stuff that
players in the
she was
world.
going through. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see. Vera. So going back to Vera Menchik, and we cover this is the championship, and just to cover the most, just so you see all the champions. But yeah, we talked about Gaprindashvili. We had one class on her. Yeah, she won a lot of times. Wait, championship. Where are the champions? Just a list of the champions. Yeah. So Gaprindashvili had. So those are, I think, the two strongest. There was another one too around that time, but 62 to 78. Menchik, 27 to 40. Yeah, she was the most dominant, clearly. But there's another one who had it for a while too. Who was that? 60. Oh, that's her. 78 to 91. Yeah. Succeeded her. That's pretty long. And they were Georgian. Yeah, and you'll see right now. I'm gonna actually. Oh, let me quickly pull up just so you'll kind of have that in the background. We can always come back. But if you look at this European, and this begins in 1 hour, American. The European one began recently. They're well into the middle games now. But look at the names here. Like if you click on, so I think at least two are Georgian. There's a really strong tradition, women's chess in Georgia, and obviously more recently China. But yeah, some of the players, and I think Leia, you can recognize, right? With the VILI is Georgian, right?
Yes.
And we have, I think, two. Yeah, the Layla and Bella. Probably watch the pronunciation of their last names, but yeah. And then I don't know. It doesn't have all their countries there, but yeah. So these are the current games. So we have like 24. We have about 2,500. So at the top level, there were some big mismatches though. Like there are 2,500 because it's I think this first round, right? So it's staggered. And so you have like 2,100s playing, like 2,500, like 2,192 against Valentina Gunina. So, and I think one of them, I think she was actually doing really well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this 2,100 is holding their own, right? 4 pawns. They're probably fine. And then the other one too. No, this was the one where they had the best. No, there's another one actually. Yeah, I think it was this game. 2187 versus 2451. The 2100 had a huge pressure. I'm not sure if they retained the advantage. They should have gone like knight c4 earlier when they had pressure on the d file, but they didn't do that. But you could still see pretty nice placement. But F. Froimsky didn't allow the bishop to open up. You can see like the knight's really strong. The bishop would love to open up. So she has a lot of kind of potential energy, but I'm not sure if it yielded anything. You can see like probably that doesn't have a huge advantage anymore. Yeah, it's like even, the computer says, but if you go back a little bit, and then we'll look at, so now we're looking at modern stuff, but we'll go back to the old things. So we'll leave the modern kind of running in the background. We can check in on them. But she goes for the stonewall attack, which worked pretty well against her 2451 opponent. I think this is the one. Yeah, then she ultimately plays f4. See, the computer just says Indian defense, but obviously once f4 is played, it's a stonewall attack. There's a version, I think, where you get your bishop to g5. Well, something like the Pillsbury variation, although I think that's like c4 takes, bishop g5. So I kind of like that stuff. But this is it's like a stonewall defense. If black plays it, stonewall attack if white plays it. But of course, we have that bad bishop on c1, which is the main problem. So the computer's already saying she's at +2 at this point. So I think there was a big mistake because 94 abandons the d7 square, right? This diagonal. So she's like, okay, great. I'm just going to take that diagonal. And now the king has to move. There's not enough protection, right? There are 2 attackers on c6, 2 defenders. So if you place the knight there, the bishop there, now there's only 1 defender and you win the piece. Same with here. Now the queen doesn't want to take back. So yeah, so he has to move away. Like he went to f8 and then she took, which is correct. And then she took, also correct. So you see she's fragmenting black structure. And then now the computer's saying she should have gone knight c4, understandably. But yeah, she's gonna have a nice lead in development because of the misplaced black king. So this is hanging. The bishop would move away. Let's say here, sure. Let's just look at the sample line. And then she'll just keep going, right? Or she can hit actually, I think she wins the pawn because you keep booting the bishop, right? If she goes bishop c6, you trade the bishop. And what happens after bishop g5? How do we win this pawn? We should be able to. Or at least gain something.
Just play like c4 or something.
Yeah, that's it. Just play c4. And then, well, my only thing I'm wondering is if they attack the knight. But if the bishop retreats, well, then we force this anyway. And it's like free pawn. Cool. That should be very strong. Yeah, so the only thing I'm wondering is, some counterattack on the knight. Is there anything decent? I mean, I guess, let's say, for example, this move. At the very least, you can really mess up their pawn structure. And you have the bishop, very strong bishop pair here. I'm not sure if the knight, you can sack the knight, desperado, but then they take back. I think it might just like take, and take, but look at the fragmented black pawns. That's pretty bad in the bishop pair. Oh, maybe they have f5. We could check with the computer, but maybe they go f5 and try to take back, but I'm actually not sure if they'll be successful in that. And the bishop pair is gonna be real strong. The rook's coming on the d file. So computer's saying it's +5 right now. So I guess that doesn't work. Just saying bring because the black pieces are like pretty cramped there. Yeah, sure, castle, get the rook out, kick the bishop out, it just goes here. And you're preserving the extra pawn for now. The knight tries to go to d8 to take it, but in the meantime, we're just gonna put a lot of pressure. So it's suggesting keep the knight out. And say the knight wants to take the pawn, for example, human move. Oh, that's nasty. It's looking at the bishop checking. So just the bishops are dominating. Oh man, then you have to walk into the darks if you have to walk there. And then, then you make the king abandon the knight. That could be pretty terrible. They move, you take it, they block. Okay, we just take, that's fine. And just double your rooks. Oh, never mind. I mean, I forgot the rooks. But yeah, so 2 pieces, 2 bishops for rook, that's done. Too much firepower against the rook. So anyway, that's just an example, just to give you an idea. But yeah, so at this point, I was thinking maybe if they try to go bishop e7, maybe there's an even better move. No, this looks like it's correct. No, that's correct. And then if the pawn takes back, as I said, it's just an awful structure again, and a bishop pair, so that really adds up. That's hanging. But then they'll have like rook g8, so it's saying just castle. But white has excellent development, bishop pair, better pawn structure. So the computer's saying +3.7. Now, obviously, a human would have a lot of work to do to prove the advantage, but it's just a very comfortable position for white, right? So that's what she should have done to secure a bigger advantage. So she didn't see knight c4 or appreciate how strong that was right there. But she plays a natural move, she castles. And then she finds b4, she's trying to tear open the dark squares for her bishop. I mean, black's got some real serious dark square weaknesses though, right? But she never quite gets in. She never, so far, she's not getting in, and this is the position right now. And yeah, it's saying it's closer to even. She hasn't quite, exploited the position. She has slightly better pawn structure, slightly better placement, but it's difficult to prove that. So apparently she could, wait, what is this?
Yeah, I was looking at that too, like what?
Yeah, it's kind of complicated as to why that works, because it seems like they could simply defend e6 pawn. What's going on? Let's move away the computer analysis. What if the rook simply guards? That seems natural enough. Or even the queen. Okay, let's say the queen even. So the queen goes here. Now what? Maybe f5? Maybe my pawn f5.
Yeah, pawn. Yeah. Push the pawn.
Because you're trying to
F5.
you're exploiting this, you're crashing through.
Right.
Well, I don't know if she wants to take that pawn. Well, if she doesn't, you're threatening a double check. So I don't
Well,
know,
either way, she couldn't take that pawn because
fork. If she takes, she can't take this way because the pin with the bishop. That
no,
bishop,
can't.
and then if she takes this way, that looks pretty ugly.
If she takes that way, you just push the rook up.
Just take with the rook.
Right.
Yeah, that's destructive. It's not even a sacrifice. Just break through.
No, it's not a sacrifice.
There's got to be something good here.
And
there's
then put queen.
even
queen-
like bishop
Queen
takes.
to
and rook
G5.
What's that?
Okay, no, I would say queen to G5.
Cool. Which move? Sorry,
Queen G5.
here or here? Check or here?
I mean H5. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah.
And then if they go here, we win the queen. Okay, well, they could run here. Is there something there? At least you have rook f7. There's another thing too. You could just keep attacking them. What was it? You can play this move, I think. Because if the queen takes, we check them like this. And now they can't take the rook. They have to defend this, right? And then you could simply take you trade queens. You take this one. It looks like at least you're. No, it's
No,
not.
go back.
No, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't
Go
work. You
You
don't
know
get
that-
enough out. You don't get
Okay,
enough out of it.
so. Okay, no, you went back too far.
Well, okay, let's just go from here. So you say rook take. You also have queen h5 as a possibility. That could be
Yeah.
one too. But then the king is going to run to f8. So this is more decisive. Yeah. You have queen takes or rook takes. We're saying rook takes. King
Rook
here.
take,
And from this position,
queen h5.
queen h5. There's yeah, we have lots of candidate moves in these positions.
Yeah, we do. We have
We have
lots.
rook move. We have queen h5.
Yeah,
So king here again. Now king here fails to rook f7. So king here. So let's look back at this game, this position. There's always rook f7. Everything else.
Mm,
Gotta get that other bishop in there, but we don't know if we have time.
Yeah, that's the problem. I would love for that bishop open. That's why they never took to open the bishop. It's hard to get that bishop open. You'd have to sack your bishop on e6. Yeah. And then you'd be able to push your pawn. Let me check. I mean, rook f7 is clearly dangerous. You win your piece. No, wait, hold on. There's no, you don't get to take b7 because the queen pins your rook. What's going on now? There's always this stuff with bishop takes at the very least, but
the pawn b4 can take yes, 5.
now they're hitting this for its worth.
Yeah, now you got the rook in there too. You could bring in the a rook.
Oh, my bad. This is hanging, but
Oh, yeah.
f7's hanging. Is there something there?
The other bishop's also
Maybe
hanging.
there's nothing there yet. What's that, Andrew?
Well, yeah, the queen could take the bishop at c5.
So she takes, queen takes here. I mean, it's no matter what, this is dangerous.
Yeah,
Is it decisive? I don't know. It's tricky. No matter
Yeah.
what, I mean, you're gonna have we're down a rook though. Okay, go ahead. I'm teaching you. Cross my I'm teaching. Whoop. He wants it to. Okay. So yeah, f5. Let's check with the computer. Especially in a tactical position like this, you can check. So it's saying f5. It doesn't want to take. Is the reply? Let's see if we have the line right. We're going to test on what we came up with. This test case. So rook takes is correct. Is queen check correct? That is correct. So far so good. Yeah, we got the whole thing down, and we're up 8 points apparently. So we're just crushing it. Where's the finish though? It's saying they have to give up the queen. Okay, if they have to give up the queen. That's great. Question is, okay, so we know that if it's saying we have to give up the queen, clearly we know this is winning. So we need to find a win right here. This
Gotta
is
be stack the rooks or something like that.
just
maybe.
double the rooks up here. Let's double the rooks. That's got to be strong. That's one thing we can do.
That's just a guess. I don't know. That's what I would do.
What's the follow through? We can move the queen. Oh, then we can take this or something. Well, now we don't have to worry about the other rook. We can move our queen freely. That's one move. Is there anything else? It's one candidate. Can't move the rook really, right? They take this though. So it's not a rook move.
what about if the bishop captures e6?
Yeah, then we can do that. And then, yeah, I was mentioning that one to be able to take b7. There's nothing direct. I don't know if there's I would love to get that bishop out. Oh, again, that's where we have the bishop invasion.
Yeah,
We can take and take. I don't know. It's gonna take us a little while.
yeah, it's gonna take some work.
Well, we're only down a knight. We have way better development. The king is just toast right there, sort of. Okay, let's
You
see.
need to bring that rook out at 8, bring him out and put him to work. He's being
Oh.
late.
Oh, how about D1? How about D1? So Nikki, this is strong, but this is directly threatening the
Yeah,
bishop. How
that's
about
even
that?
better.
That
Yeah.
looks really dangerous.
Yeah,
That's probably why. Yeah. There's no. Well,
That's a great move.
okay. What's the only hope here? Okay, now this is a tactic similar to what I could have done in my game. There's a lot of pressure on the two bishops. How do we exploit that? It seems that should be pretty decisive. Well, not to mention, we don't even have to do anything crazy. We could just pile up on the bishop, I think. How do we
Yeah.
pile? Because he's so stuck. How do we pile up on the bishop?
just take him.
Well, we can take, you can take one of them and then take the other one if we need to, but I don't even think we need to. How do we pile up on it? Because the thing is, they have no additional, since the rook is cutting off the king.
Oh, yeah, you just moved the queen right over to G5. That's not necessarily piling up on the bishop, but that's cornering the king, so he doesn't have much. Now you move the bishop.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you win the queen. Let's see,
Yeah.
does he have any way out of that?
That's nice.
Maybe he doesn't have any way out of that. The other way must be bad too. Feels like it should.
Yeah, it is gonna be bad because you bring the queen up to F6, supporting him. Now, what is the king gonna do? Oh, well,
Now we
take
do-
that bishop.
Oh, yeah, that's decisive. Yeah, we're getting in. We're getting in. Yours is more dangerous. I was looking at this, but yours is more forcing. I was looking at this move. Well, that they should both do it because that's collapsing now. But your move is like very forcing. And then you go here, you threaten the rook. Well, the tricky thing is if you take the rook, they H8, but I'm sure that's working as well. But you're threatening this one, actually. That's the key. You're threatening this. And that's decisive.
Yeah, yeah,
They're too tangled up here. They can't get out of this.
yeah,
Check.
yeah.
And then we come here and everything collapses. That's
Yeah.
fall. Queen moves, boom, game over.
Yeah.
And we can always, again, you can always check.
And you gotta hit them hard when you get a chance.
Yeah, you can always
Can't
check
let
the
up the
computer.
pressure.
It's rook d1. You can always check. Oh, it wants bishop d5, but what we looked at which move, queen c6, and the correct move it gives is, yeah, that's just collapsing. I bet your move is collapsing as well. Yeah, it says -20. That's good enough for me. No, it says mate in 10. Your move is mate in 10. No, your move turns out to be the best. Mate. Well, whatever. Everything's winning. This is, but this is mate in. Oh, but your move is mate in 11. Mate in 10 now. Check, check, and that's the one where we can win the queen and game over very soon. Check, check, check. Take, and that collapses also. If they have to play bishop d5, that it doesn't bode too well for them. So anyway, that's so wait, which position are we looking at? We are looking at, oh, she didn't find it. That's pretty deep though. So the idea is that you take on f7. That's some destructive stuff. Now that's the destructive sacrifice, followed by a destructive follow through with f5. So you lure the king onto the f file. You weaken the e6 pawn. You isolate that pawn. You hit it again. Now you're hitting this. So you get two. You're threatening to get 2 pawns for the piece. Too bad that bishop's not open yet, but it can, and the bishop can never challenge it with the f pawn there. It's like a bird opening, like that, like I was playing. So king runs fine. Saying here, no matter, I mean, everything is strong here. You can take this and just surrounding the king. But I really want to unleash that bishop, as you guys were saying. Anyway, that's what she could have done. So she did something a little milder. She just developed her queen. It's kind of hard to know if that works or not, but she just ends up with like some positional advantage. But as you can see, oh, this is where we are. This has just happened. So this is where she didn't pounce. So the 2450 is able to start outplaying the 2200. If you don't pounce now, it's like they consolidate their position and black is fine. And now the computer even prefers black after after knight. Oh, they still have what? This is crazy. They still have this move. Check. And then the knight gets to come in. It doesn't even want, it hangs the knight as well. That's crazy. Because now the queen's coming in. And it gives white a tiny edge. What is going on? Is it like some draw line? It's probably just that like a what? This is crazy. Now you hit this one. So they take you, open up your rooks. They defend it. This is crazy. That's computer stuff. Then you have to go queen h3 to get in this way. That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, rook a1 is pretty sophisticated. You hang the knight. So if they don't take, they go here, and then it says white's still slightly better. Take, trade, just to get a sense. It's kind of funny. So we are down what? We only ended up being, we're down a rook. But it says white's better because the black king is pretty exposed. Just a sample line. Yeah, it's still pretty destructive. 2, 4, 6. So we're up 2 points. So we're down 3 points. But we have a huge attack also. That's a beautifully placed knight. What if they challenge it? If something, I'm sure, like that. And we're forking these two, so the queen would have to give herself up. Oh yeah, let's throw that in for good measure, and then let's take this one. Oh, that's hanging now. Great. So anyway, yeah, the position's too feeble in this position, at this point. So this is where we are now. So she does knight. So she had to go for that sack. That's amazing. By not doing the sack, she kind of gave up her moment. And now black has consolidated. I mean, I still think she's fine though. Like, even though the computer says that, you know, it's at least equal now, I'm sure she's still like this opportunity. Well, the thing is, it was stronger because the knight was on G4. Now the knight retreats, so she's probably hoping to go to G5 or something. So I don't know. It's going to take her some time, but obviously, white has more possibilities than black does in this position. Although, but black wants to take on B4 now, maybe open up against the bishop, so they can quickly fight back. All right, so I'm just going to open up real quick. You can see the broadcast. You can just see, well, you can say live playing now. Pretty much all playing, I think, and you can just see these. Those are just your current games, and you can see, and we'll come back to these after we look at Vera Menchik. So anything interesting going on? A lot, right? Oh, there's that game with the 2190. That's impressive though. The 2100s are doing great against the 2400s. They both have white, and they were both able to create some initiative out of the opening. And this one, so she's doing pretty well. Well, she has better pawn structure theoretically, right? Nadia versus Valentina, and Gunina is very strong, of course. So what's going on here? Do you think she has chances here? Pretty deep in the end game. Well, the computer says, yeah, F4 would be disruptive. Equal pawns. So the main problem for black is there's some split pawns, right? They're isolated, fractured on the king side, which is, you can already see the arrow, but that makes sense that she want to throw the pawn at them. And she does. I imagine they're going to draw soon. But do you think white can do anything now? Like, I think all else being equal, if it's like this, at least white has hopes, Maybe maybe white was trying to play F4 and bishop E2 to take the H pawn in some cases. And black would need to generate some counterplay on the G pawn or something. But that might have been, what was the last move? Let's see. Yeah, I mean, so this is where we briefly looked earlier, I think. No, maybe not yet, but there's the 3 against the 3 against 2. So she has the queenside majority but she can't quite create anything because black has light square control. So she can't get the pawns rolling. Black has the doubled F pawns. So the majority is crippled here. But again, well, it can't do that much, obviously, either. So take, bishop goes back. Wait a second. She's throwing the pawn at them. Oh, that's interesting tactics. Because if the pawn takes, she gets B5. If the bishop takes, she gets F5 whenever she wants. So takes. So rather than take back and allow this, she's still fine. She decides, Valentina decides to voluntarily let the pawns get split. But I think she just knew that her opponent doesn't have enough. So she's like, fine, I'll let the player who's like almost 200 points lower than me draw. Because how does anybody make progress in this position? Well, this just happened.
I would try to push and lose something.
For what?
Maybe
I'd
push
try to
that
like
B,
make something
push
happen and
that
end
B
up losing.
pawn. Yeah, push the B pawn and make something happen on that side. Maybe you can get a pass.
It's hard to. She's trying on the king side, but she can't move it now tactically because that's the problem. The bishop just resides on C1. Anytime you move the B pawn, she takes A3. Even if you did move it, you'd be like, even if she's somewhere else, you would be blocking. Well, she could even be here, and you push. She takes this one. Even if she's on E3, it doesn't do anything. There's just enough. You can't play B3 or C4 because the bishop. You play B4. It's just equality over there. And as for the king side, the equilibrium. As for the king side, she wants to go F. Like, let's say black does something random. This is what she wants. I think. Oh, that's hanging. Okay, not that random. Let's say it goes this way. I think she wants F4. And you see the computers, the evaluations pushing up. The idea is then to fix the pawns in place and to swing the bishop and take the H pawn. So she's trying to convert this into actually winning a pawn. So for example, like the computer moves here, she goes here, and trade, secures the pawn, and it looks like that pawn is just going to fall. Shouldn't that pawn? I think a human would just take it, right? Why don't you just take it? It's not enough, huh? Oh, Nikki, you said so about the dog?
Yeah, it's probably going to be a draw.
Sorry. Yes.
Oh, is your dog? No, I got plenty of
Yes.
sound. No, I got plenty of sounds in my background. What kind of dog is it?
She's a mutt. She's a mutt. She's like a lab and a Stafford Terrier boxer.
Rescue dog?
Pardon?
Rescue dog?
Yes.
Nice. So 3 against 2, but it's just how do you make progress? You can't play g4 without dropping the f-pawn. You can't move the bishop away because this. So it's the kind of thing where black is just active enough and white can't utilize the extra pawn. Now, the only hope that I might try is maybe like try to relocate the king. Like, for example, let's say you could bring the king over here and then wiggle your way over here and like try to win this pawn. And that's the hope, right? But of course, black will reside here and just let the bishop look at both pawns. And it's like, okay, you move the king away, you lose the G pawn. You move the bishop away, you lose the C. Yeah, so it's just black has enough counterplay. And the problem is that white has all the pawns on dark squares. So the bishop will keep just striking at the pawns. So yeah, that one's a draw. I probably agree. Everyone's playing still, actually, see? Let's go back to the broadcast. So you can just quickly just home in on the on these 6 games, top 6 games. Anything else fascinating going on here? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the bottom left game that we were looking at. I mean, it's the kind of thing where white didn't yield anything. It's the kind of thing where black is, yeah, technically a stronger player based on the rating, significantly stronger. So statistically, they should do better. So it's the kind of thing now they've consolidated, black may be able to actually squeeze something out of it. And you already saw the evaluation was shifting in black's favor in the bottom left game that we looked at. Now the top right game is interesting. Now there you have a 2400 against a 2100 again. That's just the way it's matched up. And that one, I don't know, that looks pretty even. No, but it feels like white has pressure on the king side and the central pawn. But what was the last move? Queen retreated to e2. I don't know. It looks like no one's really making too much progress there, right? And the bishop is shut down by the e pawn. So the e5, see the e5 pawn gives white some space, but look at the bishop on f4, it's doing nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe it wants to take h6. Interestingly, the queen did not take h6 because she didn't want to get stuck in there again. Okay. It looks pretty even to me though. But I don't know about that. Look at black's rook on the d file. A lot of weaknesses for white, right? You can argue white's overextended there. Computer says 0.0. Yeah, I mean, of course, black should play h5, lock it, don't give him. Well, I wonder why the queen didn't take. Was it viewed as too risky? Oh, it's just that they would trade pawns and then guard the bishop or something like that, and it doesn't give white anything. That's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing to really do here. Everything's secured, something like that. White could have tried it, but yeah, they decided to just bring the queen back. Now that's hanging to the bishop, so the pawn can go here. And the bishop finally gets some life, but still, what does white really do here? Trade some pieces down, you know. White can actually try to wrest the d file from black, though. You know, but there's nothing here. There's really nothing here. So yeah, the computer says equal. It's kind of died down, yeah. I think this was a Caro-Kann. See the structure looks like a Caro-Kann. You get this open Caro-Kann kind of trades. A very common position. Usually white will play h5, but I don't think, maybe they did it later. No, they never did play h5. Kind of delayed that. And, you know, just got kind of mild, became sort of mild. Black just basically equalized castle queen side. So it's kind of a quiet version of the Caro-Kann. You can certainly play the Caro-Kann more aggressively. It doesn't have to be passive. But here, you know, they just started to trade pieces off, and black ultimately took and gave white the e5 pawn. Says rook move, just don't do it, but I think it's fine. It's really hard for white to make. As you can see, black has plenty of scope with their pieces, right? So it's pretty hard for white to do much, right? You have to be careful. Pressure on the c4 pawn. Black currently has pressure, has the d file control, right? So yeah, nothing much going on there, yeah. Anything else interesting going on? Where maybe one side is getting an advantage? Let's see. What do you guys think about these 6 games?
Bye, Leah.
Bye, Leah.
Leah, thanks for the tips. Thanks for all the history, and yeah, Leah
that
knows.
was
She's
really
a
good.
polymath, so she knows a ton. Very broad, but she's an academic, so she has a ton of knowledge to share, which is cool. Yeah, no, I mean but she knows a lot about the like that region, like Eastern Europe, Russia. Let's see. Anything else going on? There's that C pawn on the bottom right. There's a dangerous looking C pawn. Gotta watch out. We have see what's the key feature though? Apart from the C pawn. Apart from that C pawn, which looks pretty dangerous, there's an important imbalance in this position. What's that? And then I'll go ahead and once we have some grasp on these positions, I'll go ahead and look at a Vera Menchik game.
I think it's it's an imbalance on whose side, black or white.
Well, it would affect both sides. The key
Yeah, it
imbalance,
would affect both
something
sides.
that black has and something that white has, the difference. Basically, think about what's the difference between their position in terms of
D file.
structure / pieces. So right, white controls the D file. Pretty hard to challenge that actually.
Right.
Take a while. You have to go like, you have to somehow get your bishop, you have to sort of contort this. You have to like get your bishop back to F6 or C7 to support the rook coming here, but then you have to worry about trades and lose the E6 pawn. So you can see a lot of pressure on the E6 pawn. But why is it significant in terms of the bishops, in terms of where the pressure is? What's going on with the minor piece? So the rooks are certainly seem to be favoring again the 2100. Another 2100 doing really well against it 2450, 2440. That's fascinating. The underdogs are really doing well. But then again, you know, pandemic, some rating lag.
Whoever is the
For
hungry.
up-and-comers.
Yeah, they're hungrier. Lynn said that they're hungrier. I agree.
Yeah, there's that. They're hungrier. But yeah, there could be some lag in there. There could be you know, maybe they didn't play as much during the pandemic, or probably they're younger players up and coming. So, you know, they could be like almost GM strength by now as a 2100, and they just have to play enough games. Right. In FIDE, you can actually gain more points. I think it is. Because yeah, let's say you're a 2000 and you play multiple events in 1 month, it would all be based on a 2000 rating. Whereas US Chess Federation, your rating would go up each tournament. So you wouldn't gain as many points, right? But you can gain, like, let's say theoretically your rating were at like a 2300 from a 2000. You would, you know, now you're playing a 2300 versus 2300, you don't get any points. But if you still have a 2000 rating in that tournament versus 2300, you gain like 20 points, 30 points, right?
So if this Lewir was to pull this off and do a win, then she would get what, 200-300 points more to bring her closer to 2400.
No, she wouldn't get that many, but she would still. I don't know. Is it fit? But she would gain probably I don't know, 20-30 points, like multiple. She wouldn't gain like 10. She'd do way more than 10, probably 30 or more.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't recall exactly. There's a K factor, I think it is. Like a formula that determines it. And also, like, I think once you're 2400, it slows down a bit. You know, you don't move as much, if I recall. It's different for US Chess Federation, FIDE, World Chess Federation, International, right? Yeah. But yeah, so you guys see what I mean? So if she's a 2181 and she beats this player, she's still, all the tournaments this month, she's still 2181, meaning that she still has much more to gain. Like the spread is still going to be from 2081 to 23 or 2400. So she'll still gain more points than she would have were her rating to increase after that tournament, right? Doesn't increase till the end of the month.
Okay.
There's more to gain, yeah. As long as you play multiple tournaments in 1 month, you have one really good month. You, what's his name? John something Bryant, I think it is. That was a controversy with him, and he gained like hundreds of points in a month or something, or in 2 months. But hey, I mean, he was performing really well. It just allows him to accelerate his gains. So yeah,
sorry,
but what about the bishops, guys?
What
What about the
What exactly happened? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the
I think
controversy.
it's like John Daniel Bryan or something. Let me look him up real quick. But real quick, this one. What's the main difference in the minor pieces? So the rooks are doing well. We have the pawns here. Critical feature of the pawns. Black's F pawns giving black some space. Good dark square control. Guarding the pawn pretty much indefinitely, unless you want to sack the exchange. White is locking in. So it almost might be a draw. It was like kind of a deadlock going on. What about the bishops? What do you notice about the bishops? That's pretty much the final feature to assess here. See the imbalances?
Well, Black's bishop could be attacked and captured, but it would involve a sacrifice, a big sacrifice.
It's hard to get to it. Well, here's the thing. Why is it hard? But look at the feature of the bishops. There's a certain feature of the bishops. What do you notice in terms of, again, the key concept is imbalances.
So that dark square bishop, Black's bishop can't hit any of those pawns because they're all in white. And then
Okay.
the white square bishop can hit.
Can't.
But the key, you're right, they're opposite color bishops. So that's the feature of the opposite color bishops, and that's going to affect the pawns, right? So opposite color bishops, well, it tends to be drawish, especially in the end game. But in the middle game, they can actually be used to attack. But here, I'm not quite seeing it, right? Like, again, you have, for example, it's interesting. This bishop on c4 allows white to attack e6, and it's hard for Black to defend that. Well, they can, but no other pawns can defend it, and no bishop can defend it. Meanwhile, Black gets to, not really attacking, but he gets to, or she gets to anchor in the pawn on c3. So it's not like it's doing anything, and that's the other thing. Because white has control of the light squares, they can always, they can always cover that. Black can't cover that anymore. If white really needed to, they can always, like in an endgame, they can use the bishop to secure the c2 square for the most part. So you can see it allows them, like, you have easy blockades on the squares that your opponent can't control. So for example, the e pawn, we can't really play e5, that's blockaded. There's nothing to challenge the e5 bishop. Can't even go rook t5 because the that pawn on e6 keeps the rook out, which might be useful for white. So you can't really get in. You can only get in, you can get in on d8. Yeah, actually, that's white's hope, I'd say. What was the last move? They're anchoring in the bishop, anchoring everything in. They're going to probably try and play rook down and then, double on the back rank. But probably by the time you go there, Black will challenge it. So white, I think maybe white has a little edge, but can they actually achieve anything? Or is it just moot? Kind of. The computer says white. Oh, no, the computer says Black is up 2 points. Well, then again, I mean, maybe it really likes that pass pawn. But can you do anything with it? Oh, you see it starting to look at these moves. Oh, sure, that's a plan. So the computer gives you some ideas, right? Like, okay, that doesn't hurt, if you could safely get these pawns rolling. And then you can eventually shift, your rook to the G file somehow. That could get dangerous. Maybe
Wait, if that rook goes back, right, and that other rook challenges it, can't we pin the other queen to the king? Or
let's see. You're saying, like, let's say a Black does like a random move, let's say go h6. You're saying if this rook goes down here, and then if they go here,
and
then what?
Then we can bring our other rook up.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Or maybe
Which
even the other one
I don't think it
down.
really
I'm not
matters which
sure.
one. Yeah, we win the queen. You're right. So that couldn't happen now. Maybe that's why I think one of the suggested moves was king up. So now it doesn't.
Oh.
Yeah, because I said random move h6. Okay, not that random. It would actually have to be intentional. So that just shows that, well, if you don't get to challenge it yet, well, maybe you wait for them to go here and then you go back. I don't know.
Okay.
But still, only white is the one that can create pressure on the D file, obviously, can do some things. But it says Black's better. I think so. It looks like, my guess is that because the c3 pawn ties them down and they can start pushing their pawns and pretty much get this in. And again, like I said, the opposite color bishops can favor the attacker. So hypothetically, if that, you can't get here though. I would love to get the bishop here and play e5, like lock it in and get the dark. You'd have to find a way, but like if you can get this pawn rolling and there's a trade, you can unleash your bishop with like a queen coming in. So there might be some pressure here eventually. Or if nothing else, like I said, about king h6, and then you can shift your rook eventually and try to hit them on the G file or something like that. Because the rooks aren't needed on the C file, they can reroute. This one's covering the 7th rank. Yeah, get king over here. Imagine you play rook g7, wrap around. I mean, you'd have to have some time to do that, but I mean, nobody's really making any progress right now because those bishops are holding them off. Oh, they did something. They did do something. That didn't happen. Wait, let me refresh it. No, it was over here. Wait, did that happen? No, I'm not sure. Let me see. It looks like they made a move. Okay, where's the game? Where's the game?
I think it was down on the right.
There it is. Maybe pull it up. So I'm sharing a portion of the screen. Okay. Well, she's okay. No, they're both about the same time, 9 minutes to 11 minutes. So what just happened? Oh, she played h5. So kind of similar to what the computer was suggesting. And you can't really stop those pawns. So it's kind of like, again, we're deadlocked here. So while you're all deadlocked, it's like, can you, white really can't, no, white's only hope is rook down. So if that doesn't yield anything, then black will make progress with this idea. At least they have prospects there, right? Interesting. But you see a real battle of the opposite color bishops. Now, again, endgame looks very drawish because black will just hold that pawn on c3. And I don't know, I don't think you want to sack in exchange for it. The extra exchange will be felt on the C and D files, right? Or over here. Or over here. So yeah, it's very interesting. But to the human eye, at least when I look at this quickly, I'm thinking it looks pretty drawish with the opposite color bishops. I'm like, yeah, you can go down here, but again, Nikki, you notice you can't be challenged right now. The rook can't be challenged.
after, like
So
I
again,
said.
like let's say black goes king h6.
Yeah.
But then it looks like here it's like, okay, who makes progress?
Yeah, what now?
Right. So it's interesting. Now, okay, so just to get a sense, again, this is where we can use the computer because like, oh, you don't see it. It's not obvious how to make progress. I didn't see it. It's saying, the computer's saying, oh, maybe you have to sack the exchange. What if you don't want to sack the exchange, let's say? It still really wants to sack the exchange.
I'm like the computer, I would too.
I don't want to have to do it.
Keep it moving because
Yeah,
some actions will come into
Yes,
play real quick once you sack the pawn, and he's I mean,
yeah, but even here, like, what do you do? What do you really do here? So they're just trying to trade queens. You're down in exchange, and eventually they will get a rook. One of the rooks will challenge probably on the D file eventually, and so blocks up an exchange. But do you have to? I mean, okay, what would I do? What's something we could do? Okay, again, let's try this idea. Let's try this rook down idea. Because I mean, again, like this rook is not, they're not going to push this pawn anytime soon. Maybe black sacks the exchange or something to try to get,
maybe bishop b5 at some point to try to like get, I'm just really want.
oh yeah, because you want to
but
get the
like
rook
you said,
here.
yeah, but I mean, like you said, like the king can just go down to h6.
No, but still, I mean, if you get, I like your ideas. I mean, you're seeing a lot here because if you get the rook, these are good tactical ideas. Because really, I mean, you're dominating the file. Black can't challenge this. So you're locking in the d7 square. Okay, let's say this happens.
It's okay.
Say a rook down. No, maybe here now then. I mean, I could let them, I guess they could sack the exchange. Saying just move the queen or king, yeah, as you said. But okay, let's say this happens. Still king h6. Oops. And then what does white do? Okay, let's say white does that idea. Oh, it is. Cool. Let's say you go here. Then they can challenge it. Then they can challenge it. So you basically give up if you want to try this idea. Now, if you get down, that looks pretty dangerous. But the moment the rook abandons the file, hoping to double on the 8th rank, then it gets challenged, and yeah, you lose the file now, actually. Most like, well, you go here. Can they challenge the file now? Yeah, they can. I don't know. Looks pretty bad. It says black is just winning on the spot. That's amazing, right?
Yes.
Well, if black gets in on the file, they're going to go like this and come in here. And then finally that pawn becomes a real danger. That's a thorn in white's position. So really it just loves that pawn. And black, well, look, I mean, black has, the only thing white has is the D file. And it's just not enough. The opposite color bishops are like able to hold them off. And then black is the one who's able to utilize that bishop attack. So it's very interesting. So let's come check back on this one. Wait, what's the current position though, real quick? I'll just go over all 6 again. So they just play king h6 and they're trying to, they're going for the idea though, just want to attack. And they realize, hey, white can't do anything because again, they go rook d8, I ignore it. The bishop covers h8. And then the moment they move away, I challenge the file. In the meantime, I guess I'm going to play g5, g4 and just create some chaos on the king side. And white just sits there and watches and tries to hold on for dear life, right?
And I was thinking about g5, g4, but then you got the queen sitting, black queen sitting right there. That could come right on down to the G file.
After g5, g4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty direct attacking idea. Just go g5, g4, queen g5, then rook goes behind it. And you try to take and open it up. And you come down to g1. Or you make the rook take and that fragments the pawns.
Yeah.
Maybe you can also play like h5, h4. There's a lot of ideas there.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this game. This game has advanced a lot on the bottom line. Okay, then let's take a look at the Menchik game. But Yeah, these are fascinating games, really good battles. Well, in this game, white got 2 connected past pawns. That's for a rook. That's crazy. Black has an extra rook, but it's not coming in. But in this game, hey, white ended up getting a huge advantage. Wow. So it is that I think there's going to be an upset here because that 2100 just keeps putting pressure on the 2450, right? We'll say 22 to 2450. They keep putting pressure on them. Like, let's see the last several moves. How did she make progress? So she missed this apparent sack, right? She could have done a sack. That, but again, that's really, honestly, that's really
hard
it's kind of
to
like the
see.
game I showed you guys when I was playing that K through 12 champion. I had those 2 chances to beat him, but like they were really tricky. I mean, I did the sack piece for 2 pawns, kind of like in the other game, the bird opening, but it didn't. I had to find these precise lines. You have to do it though. You have to work on your attacking skills to finish them off. But that's really hard to see that works, right? To invest the whole piece right there.
Yeah, it looks absolutely like what it, yeah, it does look very difficult.
But I guess if you see the power of Queen G4 followed by F5, I guess you can confirm that, hey, looks like I'm getting 2 pawns for a piece with a raging attack. But the thing about it that would make me less comfortable is that I don't have my bishop out. If that bishop is being unleashed on B2, I'll be like, absolutely, just do it.
Yeah.
But you can't quite get there yet. No, there's the bishop takes E6 line followed by C4 stuff. I don't know. But also there's the strength of rook AD1 and white is fully developed. So you watch those Alpha Zero games, how it would attack like that, just like give white pieces, but it has the lead in development like that, quick development to the file and stuff. So the knight came back. I think she played G4 or something. So she takes the file. Again, there's that D file again. Open D file, she strikes at it first. We see a lot of file control imbalances, right? Where one person has the file in these games. Okay, but other than that, the main imbalance is the king safety and the pawn placement.
Well, having that B2 bishop stuck down there is hurtful.
Not anymore. So here's what she does. She grabs the pawn. She retreats her bishop. Remember, we said there was going to be some issues on the C file, so she remedies that. I guess the knight could have taken on C4. I don't know what would have happened there, but she would have probably taken. That's kind of hard to say. We have to look at that. But she ended up doing this, and then there you go, Lynn. It's open now, finally.
Oh, okay.
And that's like a
because you had to be able to find a way to move that pawn up.
Yeah, once you get it in, that's
unleash it.
Again, that's the
Yeah.
dream of like the bird position, the bird setup, or like a Dutch, where black has the bishop with an F pawn.
Yeah.
To be able to strike on that diagonal. Yeah, this one. But unfortunately, it's not working for black. Black is biting on granite, which is why it was a good move to take that there and make the pawns double. Mostly because it just ruins, it kills the bishop's power, biting on granite. But also there are those lines where there's like a trade, and then the pawns get double isolated, things like that. So the double pawn by itself is not a huge deal. But if you get to take the F pawn, like whether it's a trade, remember the one line where the pawn took and they took, or if you sack on E, there was the sack on E, there was a trade on E6, there was a sack on E6, and there was a sack on F7. So there were a lot of possibilities embedded in this game that didn't come to pass. Well, that's why she's a 2187. Probably if she were like, maybe her opponent would have found it, or Irina Krush probably would have found it. But still, she ends up, her opponent didn't defend, but she has the attacker's advantage still. And she finds it when it matters. She still finds it. Fortunately, she had multiple chances because she has the advantage, Even out of an English, even out of an English, you can often play E3, then F4 later. So it's important to just understand this F4 pawn with the bishop. You guys can do that a lot. Or as black, you don't have to play F5 against D4. You can play E6, then F5 later. Fianchetto your bishop, and that helps, it enhances your control of the diagonal. See, that's why the bishop can't challenge it, because the pawn's on F4, right? So that gives white like this wedge, this dark square diagonal domination. A1 HA diagonal. So she's getting in there now. So she's up 3.5 points. So suddenly she got like a winning attack. She simply scoots over with your king. Nothing doing there. Queen H4, knight comes into F, and that's just powerful. I suppose there's bishop E7 to try to stop knight F6. Oh, and she blew it again. No. She's still better. But why not go knight E5? Yeah, because this doesn't really do anything. That's a cop out. No, she's like, see, kind of like me in my game, she didn't have enough confidence in her position, I guess, Because h6 doesn't do anything. Right?
It doesn't do anything at all.
And that pawn's not a big deal right now. Maybe she's
No.
hoping to latch onto it, but maybe she's hoping to latch on and like eventually get in with it, but it's gonna take her a long time. But 95, I don't know. Let's see, 95, it's just a natural square for the knight. She's hitting this. What is there like no defense? What's going on though? Again, to the human, it looks like there's still like maybe queen takes. I think she didn't want to see this trade, but it turns out that the trade must be good for her. What if she just takes? It's still good. The computer wants bishop d4. The knight has to retreat and then take. Sure, why not? But even if you just do it right away, it's good. It's still strong. And what we check, and if the bishop, those bishops are pretty powerful now.
Yeah.
That bishop came to life. If the rook does the natural capture, we invade, we fork, and we end up winning. We win the bishop. No, wait. Yeah, we win the bishop because the bishop covers
This
b7.
belong- Oh,
Get that
yeah,
one.
he
Yeah,
sure came to life.
long range pieces, right? Counterplay, not enough. You hit 2 though. They take 1, you take 2. And the only other thing to worry about would be like this, but it's not enough because you take and you have that beautiful bishop coming in again and just simply guarding h2, and there's nothing for black to do. Otherwise it'd be dangerous, but you have to realize the resource. Your bishop's an attacker and a defender. We have mating threats with the sons, but also just the fact that the rook couldn't come back that allowed you to get the fork for it to work. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
So if 95, but she didn't do that. She went h6. So this is a game of like missed opportunities, but you can learn a lot from the opportunities. Okay, let's go to the Vera Menchik. Let's go to Vera Menchik now. Okay. So, but those are nice games though.
Yeah.
Yeah, learn a lot from like just like, you know, the analysis of all the different positions. You know, you just like look at it and you're like, zoom, these are the imbalances, and you know, like that's very useful.
Yeah. That's why sidelines are so important. One, you learn what could have happened in that position, but you just learn a lot about chess in general. Like, oh, you see the power of the, you know, of the possibilities of the sacks. You see the power of the diagonal. You see those possibilities, like whether or not it works to bring your rook to the 8th rank and try to double rooks on the 8th rank. You know, whether or not it works, or like so you see all these plans. You know, it doesn't matter if it happened around that game, but you learn the power of those types of plans. So you can try to use it in your games. Okay, where's Vera Menchik? Oh, there she is. Okay, so here she is again. And we were going to look at her win over this, the chessgames.com people. I don't know who did it, but I don't know. I mean, the founder died several years ago, and I don't know how active it is now. Like, let's say, for example, you look at the most recent comments, you'll get a sense. So people comment on the games, and then you'll see people like this Perfidious. I don't know about this one. We see like Perfidious, and you see this guy like with an acronym. Let me see if he's there. I would be surprised if he's not, because this guy, or Perfidious, you'll see him a lot. There's like Petrosianic. You'll see the same people commenting on everything. It's kind of interesting. But when was this comment made? 21, 22. No, so it's somewhat recent. People are still active on it. Page
Yeah,
8.
I subscribed to them, and they somebody got back to me because I was like, I just paid for, like, you know, to not, and the ads were still popping up everywhere, because, and so somebody wrote back to me like immediately and was like, you need to just do this, this, and this, and so the pop-ups didn't come up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that somebody's active in there. I don't know who, but
And get an ad blocker too. Do you have an ad blocker?
yeah, that would be easier.
Yeah, actually, Lichess, since they're open source, they recommend uBlock Origin, and there's also AdBlock Plus and stuff. I don't know if you guys recommend any others, but that's been great. Well, apparently,
it
helps
called,
with, like,
uBlock?
trackers and stuff. It helps your internet experience, you know, with safety and everything. What's that with privacy? And you
What
can
was it?
yeah, uBlock Origin or AdBlock Plus. And the cool thing about it is if you load, like, if you don't use the YouTube app, if you just watch YouTube videos through your browser, you get to watch YouTube videos with no ads, which is amazing because the ads are gotten super annoying.
Oh yeah.
Remember, they used to not have any ads like in 2010, and then of course now they have tons of ads. Yeah, it's a bit of an overkill sometimes. So it is nice that you can watch it. Although Andrew, you might have some thoughts on that since you're in that sector. But yeah, it is a bit much. I mean, obviously it affects the user experience, right? So it's kind of nice. But of course, you know, but I mean, I get it. You want the creators to, depending on who it is, but like, let's say they're small creators, like you want them to get the ad money if they have their 1,000 subscribers, right? But yeah, it is kind of nice though sometimes to just like listen to, let's say you want to, especially for streaming, So I used to do it like I would stream and I'd put some music on YouTube and the ads would come on. So I could just have a continuous, it'll be a playlist, let's say, like a playlist on reggae or whatever. It'll just keep going to the next song, and no ads. It's kind of like, I don't even know if Spotify does that or not, but it's pretty
That's
nice.
nice.
So here's our Menchik game. How Vera clever. They're being clever with their pun, right? They like their puns for their game. I guess they vote on them or something. Like someone suggests it and they have votes or something. And sometimes it changes, actually. I've seen it change. Like rated G. There's a Kasparov game rated G, which is this crush of Karpov when he pushed all his pieces back rank. So let's see how Vera is very clever. Okay. So she's playing against a King's Indian defense. Okay, so your standard King's Indian with E4 main line. Orthodox variation, the bishop will come to E2, nothing too aggressive. But white wants to take over the center. But remember, anytime this happens, we've seen this a lot. Anytime the C and E pawns move twice, where's the weakness created? Theoretically, you can't see it yet so much. But it's very important to understand from the outset, where's the weakness in white's position after C4 and E4 are played structurally?
C2.
Or something that true. Yeah, actually the second rank pawns are always weak, like the F2 pawn and C2, because they can never be guarded by pawns. They're just harder to access sometimes. But that's true. It's an empty square. Now, if this were Bug House or Crazy House, where you drop a piece on their square, you would love that C2 square. You're not supposed to, that one where you take your opponent's pieces, you use them as your own. Then C2 is very evidently weak because you can drop a pawn or knight there or something. But you can see it's weak, yeah. And fundamentally. Now, as for the pawns that have pushed, there's one of the pawns that is no longer able to be guarded by a pawn because white's very ambitious and arguably overextended in many cases, especially if they push all 4 pawns, like a 4 pawns attack. Then black is going to see, you can see here, that's U block origin right there, or right there, block element. But
okay.
So are you saying C2?
Because otherwise we have a huge.
So D4 is weak.
D4 is weak, exactly.
D4 is weak.
It didn't hurt her in this case. What's that?
No, I'm saying you said D4 is weak. What about D3 too? No,
Yeah, that's true.
No.
No, that's true. D3 is weak. Now, if you have a pawn on D3, you have like a triangle, like the Botvinnik system.
I mean, but the
D4 is
bishop
definitely
is
weak, but
protecting
D3 pawn will be weak too. Yeah, it'll be weak. It might affect you in the long run. What's that?
No, I was just saying the bishop is protecting D3, so it's D4.
That's the thing. Yeah. So it's a weakness though, fundamentally, but is it attackable? Like C2. C2 is a weakness. Is it attackable? Not now, but let's say you keep pushing and black gets a bishop on F5 and a knight on B4, sometimes it happens earlier than others, but like the D4 square. So it's nothing right now, right? But let's say black gets, to King's Indian, black will play E5. Sometimes C5 will happen, but like E5, and let's say the knight on C6, E5, let's say they bypass, then the knight hops into D4. So in several moves, you might have a knight on D4, which is pretty obnoxious. Then the knight moves and the bishop is X-raying. So I'll just make a few, I'll make a few lines there. But like, let's say you have, so let's say the knight's on C6, theoretically, hypothetically here, and then pawn E5. And if they take, it's still actually improved. Black still has that grip with the pawn on D4. So you can see that D4 square has a lot of attackers, You have the knight, the pawn, and the bishop. Don't forget about the bishops, X-raying from G7. So the classical example in a King's Indian would be like, let's say you get this and you get D5. Usually the knight would move. Oh, sorry, after E5. So you have knight C6 and E5 strikes. In some situation like this, pawn pushes, and the knight hops in immediately to D4. This happens sometimes. And but that's an example where you immediately exploit that square. And then you can like move your knight away somewhere, maybe even H5. And the bishop X-rays to support the knight through the pawn. So if they ever take, your bishop would still support it. Plus you could bring your knight to F4. So the point is, you'd have that wonderful pawn on E5. We love that pawn, right? And that pawn is going to anchor the targets on F4 and D4. That's where you see the knight coming in, and you see the knight coming into both squares. And again, if let's say they decide to trade, let's say that just E5 is played. Just again, hypothetically, this happens a lot, and the trade happens. So you can see the counterpart square. So this is weak for white. Now black is happy because they could play pawn C6. So white doesn't get to permanently occupy D5 after C6 is played, but white has lost the chance to cover D4. So then you might see, but even if you see like rooks doubling on the D file, there could be a rook sinking into D4, a bishop, a knight. So you just have coverage on, so just by virtue of the E4 move. So you can often do like my coach Jacobian in high school, like he would play. I worked with him in high school, a little in college. I wasn't as active in college, but yeah, throughout like later in high school, I worked with him. So he would play this version of that. I forget what it's called. That was like a Petrosian version or something, variation. But his version would be Bishop G5, and we'd play E3, which is pretty nice. It's actually a nice way to play against the King's Indian. And when they go H6, you just simply like drop your bishop back and you go to G3. And you're aiming here, but you will usually go for like, they have D6, you'll use like B4, C5. So you have like a clear attack on their D pawn, and you're not really weakening anything. You have that solid, pawn chain. So you're not giving into what black wants. If black's playing a King's Indian, now you could do it. It's a theoretical battle every time. But when you're doing that, you're aggressive, but you are exposing your D pawn. So you guys see how that can be. Again, hypothetically, you see scenarios where black can definitely strike at it. It's not just a moot point. It's not just like an academic question is attack, but you'll see it. Let's see it. I mean, in this case, it obviously she reigns supreme.
Well, is that like Swiss cheese on white side when he moved up to D4? I mean, it brings
Yeah,
about
it can become right. It's a weak point, and especially you'll see that in the Botvinnik where it's on D3 and like there's a pawn on C5, and that's just a hole to be occupied. But similarly, like I said, yeah, then all the dark squares can often become Swiss cheese so like for example, the C5 move sometimes they go like this. When the knight moves, let's just say some example like this, right? Now that bishop is just zooming in. You're trying to get B5 in later, so you're trying to hit the B file, the diagonal. So just hypothetically, again, these are just hypothetical points. That makes sense?
yes.
Very
Yeah,
useful.
the Swiss cheese. Okay, so she's playing a version which she's trying to obviously support. She realizes she has to support that D4 square in the square. She's defending it more. There's a sandwich variation. Now her opponent's playing a weird move, like B6 is strange. This is back in 1932, so still early days of the King's Indian. Had Fisher and refined it in the 60s. So B6, Queen D2, Knight C6, push. 97. Yeah, you just don't need B6. Like B6 is redundant, basically. Although it's stopping C5, but black should go for their attack. So G4. Now white's trying to attack. Well, she can still castle queenside. That's the thing. So she can commit to where kingside pushes and just not castle, or not castle kingside. And that's obviously what happens because you realize that we saw earlier that she's going to get a nice mate. So she decides to go queenside. She's like, look, you don't have any attack on there right now. Black's natural play is on the king side, so she's kind of making that hard to play because F5 will be met by pawn takes pawn and tear open the G file. Well, that should be pretty strong. So yeah, he can't really do that right now or anytime if he doesn't want to see the G file open. So she's kind of intimidating him from doing that. Now she might have some knight sacks coming in on F5 or something. So she's throwing her H pawn at him, classic attacking technique. Trade off the bishop, which is the guardian of the king. And there's your knight sack.
That's nice.
Because you're going to open the G file. That's decisive. Looks very strong. Well, let's see. Does he accept it? No, he doesn't. He just trades knights. Like, let's say this looks pretty bad because you take back with check, right? Actually, it's over immediately. Mate in 3, it looks like. Pretty much. Mate very soon. What does white do to continue the attack? Well, black is going to have to give the piece back, like knight G6 or something, but it's bad. So what does white do in this case if he accepts the sacrifice? How does white go for mate?
Queen to G5.
Right. Queen G5 / Queen H6. I don't know if it makes a huge difference. In both
Yeah.
cases, you're hitting G7.
Yeah.
Rook G8 doesn't quite work. No, it fails. In both cases, the only way is Rook G8 or knight blocks. You just win the knight back. You might want the queen on H6. It's a little more aggressive on some lines, but let's just say they go Rook G8. Where's your mate?
Your mate is at Queen F6.
Correct. Because then they have to block with the rook. If you go here, it doesn't do anything. You throw in your check, block, mate, meaning that he would have to go. He would have to go knight G6. That's where I might actually want the queen on H6, but I don't think it makes a huge difference. Let's see.
No, I don't think it does either because
Check. Well, the thing is, when he takes back, he's attacking the queen. Yeah, that might make a slight difference. But then again, you probably have something like this. And then you simply just move your bishop quietly to e2, and you're gonna mate. That
Yeah.
works. Yeah, that just works.
Yeah.
No matter what his position's destroyed. Check here. What about, it might help, let's see. So knight g6. No, that's done. That's done because now that she's on h6, it's mate. See, it doesn't make a difference. It's gonna be mate.
Yeah.
Well, the rook has to block, which is pretty sad. And then it's still gonna be mate on f7. Yeah, no matter what, it's mating.
Yeah.
But you can see in some cases, you can see how it might help you because there's attack on h7. Oh, but that's not what happened. Or does somebody have to go?
I don't know.
Yeah, Nikki had to head out.
Okay, bye.
No worries. Thanks, Nikki. But I'm glad. I know she said that she has to multitask, but she was certainly able to contribute a lot despite her being busy. Okay, so knight f5 check. Fixed. So this happened. She's trying to ward off the attack a little bit, but the thing is, his counterattack is not strong enough. So she's breaking through. The thing is, like, you still have there's issues on g6. We have 1, 2, 3 attackers. He has 1, 2, 3 defenders, but that seems feeble to me, especially when the queen and rook are coming. It's going to be about the queen and the rook. I don't know about the bishop. It's pretty much 2 rooks, 2 pawns, and a queen that are going to join the attack very quickly. If you had time, you might like swing your knight around or go like bishop h3 or something like that. But you probably just don't need that because where are the guardians? You have this triangle of pawns. Anytime you see the queen on the other side of the board, that's pretty barren, right? Just barren over here. And so all they have is the pawns and the rook, which is not quite, as you saw, the rook cannot really come to the rescue. Rook g8 got hit by queen f6. And rook f7 just got taken by the pawn in that other variation. So she goes for the check and she sees the mating line. So again, and then there's the strength of the d pawn, because now the queen h6 line, she simply takes the knight. Otherwise, that he might hold on for a while with knight e6. You just take it and then mate. So that's what she has. But she has to go to. Well, the thing is, oh wait, that's not the one. The thing is, she might allow the pawn. She doesn't care about the pawn coming in. See, she doesn't care about that. As long as she can hold it off, she's going for mate. So he has this way to go rook g8, but now we have the mating pattern coming. So he takes, what do you do? What's the best way to handle this pawn? You want to go for your mate. So what's the best way to handle it? I think so.
We just move.
Yeah, you don't want to take it, you move.
Huh?
Right? Yeah, you move, right? You don't take. Where
Yeah,
do
you move.
I don't know which one you move to exactly. Where do you think you move to? B1?
You move. You just move to what? B1?
Yeah, I think that's the typical thing to do because you give them no checks now. And so he has to react. I mean, you could check. Queen checks, the knight's ready. Make sure the knight's there. Otherwise, it'd be bad.
Right.
To come up, and then they would queen, and that'll be mate. So good thing the knight's there.
Yeah.
But in those cases, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very instructional.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's go here real quick. Okay, so here's how George Allen Thomas got crushed. And I think he was the arrogant one. I haven't mentioned that somewhere, but I think I saw that. Okay, so she takes, he takes. Now, if he had taken with the rook just trades and mate on g7, because the rook has to guard g7, right? Rook trades, mate g7 next move. So he has to take with the pawn. Only pawn is this pawn. And that's where she has the winning combo. So she already gets it. She has, all she needs is the queen, pawn, and rook. And the fact that the congestion, she's created the congestion in her opponent's position. That's where the cornered king gets caught. So how do you catch it? There's 2 ways, but let's do it the most elegant way.
There's 2 ways. You just
Well, just do the most direct way.
Queen takes.
Yeah, the queen takes pawn, king takes back.
And you move your rook over.
Yeah, you got the quarter. Instead of a back ring mate, you got a quarter mate.
Yeah.
Because the pawns are in the wrong place. G pawn's in the way, rook's in the way, pawn's covered g7. So it's just like a back ring mate in the sense that, yeah, there might be a luft, but the luft is covered. Like there's your little luft right there. He's hoping for a luft, but we're covering the luft. There's no air for him to escape.
No.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? So
yeah.
Cool. So he resigns.
Considering it was played so long ago.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, yeah. Because I mean, chess is chess, you know, you learn your tactics, you learn your strategies. If you're a great chess player, you can master the game no matter what. And the other thing is that with computers, like, yeah, they help, but a lot of chess mastery is like being able to outmaneuver your opponent. So the computer's not going to tell you every move, like how to outmaneuver your opponent every move. You get a sense, but that's like seasoned masters are just very good at that. You know, like
Yeah.
Lasker would be in trouble sometimes, but he would just outmaneuver his opponents. He didn't need a computer to do that. Maybe if they had computers, they, you know, it would help them with their theory and they could train with them and they'd be even stronger. But you look at players like Alekhine and Fischer, they didn't have computers. Polgar, maybe a little bit of Polgar, but going way back to Alekhine, Menchik obviously didn't have a computer. So you see the top players just, you could put them in, they're outliers. So you put her in today's competition, she'd probably be among the very top, if not the champion. So
I know.
pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is cool. And David, I love that learn to evaluate like a grandmaster.
Break it down. Yeah, I got that from Silman. Early Silman's book is great. If you guys haven't read it, I recommend
No,
it.
it's the latest one with what's his name? Solon.
Oh, how to evaluate like a grandmaster. Yeah, I looked at it a bit. I looked at some of the puzzles. What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's really cool because I've been working through one or two every day, and you know, before I read the answer, I always, you know, work through it, and I'm like, a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of times I'm on point. I'm like, okay, good, I'll keep reading.
Yeah, that's awesome. It builds your confidence, which is very important.
It does.
Yeah. Now well, again, I haven't looked at enough. My only critique is that there may not be like a clear system or method. I'm not sure.
No, I think it's not a clear system of method. It's for you to evaluate and then to assess your own self. You know, it's not. Yeah, that's what I'm getting out of it anyway.
Yeah, I know for sure, and in the various ways, but that's good for puzzles. I'll read more of it, but also like Silman, for example, he has a clear method to evaluate positions in terms of looking at the imbalances. Or if you read if you read Jacob Agard, so he talks about like looking for what is my opponent trying to do? What is my worst piece? Well, it obviously goes both ways. What is my opponent trying to do? What's my worst piece and my opponent's worst piece? And where are the weaknesses for both sides of it? So that's his. So it's like, if you ask yourselves these kind of strategic puzzles, it's like, look, if you ask yourself these questions every time, you'll probably stumble upon the answer. And the Silman method helped us to like evaluate the opposite color bishops and the weak pawns, the weak squares, things like that. Possible files. So it's obvious in a way, but it'll help you be structured. Now you could take that and bring it to their book, to what's his name, Solons, and there's another guy who wrote it with. But I haven't read it all yet. I just looked at some of the quizzes.
Well, I haven't read it all either, but I'm just saying, and you take Silman's book and Solon's book, Fisher's book, and you know, and you kind of, if you can retain it in your head, all of it, you know, it helps to clarify the picture of what you really have to do. And the focal points and the Swiss cheese and all that, I'm trying to incorporate all of that in my brain.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to say, clearly it's working, because every time you said something today, you had something great to contribute. Now, if it were a quiz, I'm not quizzing, but if it were, you'd get like pretty much 100% because you saw all the things. Or no, I mean, again, it's like you look at one move, it's like, you know, you found it though, rook takes f5, but even if it's, you know, oh, it's this check, or that it's rook d1, or it's queen g5, you know, actually your move was stronger than that move. But even in one case, if it's the second strongest move, you're like, oh, okay, well, I can compare that to the other move. That's part of the process. But pretty much found the strongest move. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. So clearly it's helping you, and you have the potential. It's just a matter of putting that hard work in. And I need to do more of that myself. Like
you just got to put in the work. I don't force myself every day or anything like that. I just, because I want to learn with ease and relaxation so that your brain can open up and absorb it all, you know?
Yes, definitely. Well, you're doing a great job at it. And yeah, I need to keep doing that myself, you know, because I've been teaching a lot, but you got to do that training, like tactical training. Need to work on that to make sure I find those key moments to exploit, to convert your advantage into victory. As Fisher said, tactics flow from the superior position. But anyway, yeah, it was really great to look at those games and look at the the live games and some of the history and hear your guys' insights on that. It's really
And I enjoyed it very much, David. Thank you
great.
very much.
Great. I enjoyed it as well. And final thing, if you guys want, we'll just take a quick look there. Obviously, I think you just saw them evolving quickly, and now we're approaching end games. So just take a quick peek at these and just see where everyone stands, and whether black has actually made, the computer said black should be winning on the bottom right. That's the most fascinating to me as to how black can try to squeeze out the win here, eke out the win. Oh wait, whatever happened to that other game? Yep, she broke through. But then again, hey, I mean, like I said, black is the higher rated player, and black is creating a little chaos in there. You know, both sides have bishops aiming at each other. That's pretty hard to know oh no, she got a 4th. Oh no.
Mhm.
I think she ended up losing. That's too bad, because she had a beautiful game going, and you know, but she got stronger. I'm sure playing against a player like, you know, she should become like, you should be rated much higher than that, because she was outplaying the 24. But just like my game, she had to pounce when the moment was right. She had several moments, and you know, if you miss those moments, like from a winning perspective, to go away, but also from the being, you know, going toward the loss, oftentimes it takes more than one bad move to lose. And remember that when you're in trouble, right? You're like, oh crap, I made a bad move. Remember, it's going to take a few bad moves for your opponent to get you in many cases. And if you play brilliant moves, you might come back and draw or win. So just keep that in mind. Okay, this one I think became a draw, right? You can double check. You can see the results over here on the side. No, they're still going a lot. But yeah, we had there were a couple of draws. There were 2 wins. There was, this one was a win. This was Queen D4, and black is up a piece. I don't think we really looked at that game, did we? Wait, which game was this? No, we didn't really look at that game. There wasn't too much going on at that time. And then we had this one. Oop. Which game was this?
I don't think we looked at that one either. That's Serena.
Yeah, did we see it later on? Let's double check. Oh, wow. Well, white ended up winning. Hey, we have opposite color bishops again. Yeah, these will be great for you guys to review. I'm going to review them myself. Check it out later. And then black blundered there. Why is that a blunder? Because what is going on? Check. What is going on? Wait. Oh, my bad. Yeah, and then black ends up, or white ends up invading with the rook, and then to get with the queen. And then this game is still going, and it's saying that black is up 4 points. But I think it's really coming down to that pawn. It's just a thorn, you know. They never end up getting G5, G4, not yet anyway. But white's just so passive. But still, it's not at all. And even the computer says -4. If you're playing this position, you could almost imagine sometimes people offering a draw here if they needed to. If they're like, hey, I only need to draw right now to win the tournament or something. Because it's very hard for black to progress. It's like, what exactly do I do? But clearly black is, you know, has superior piece placement and the really nice pawn. But what do you do with it? It's not easy. And then there's this game. Black hit, which game was that?
Oh, David, I have to go.
You gotta run.
I do. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Goodbye, everybody.
My pleasure, Lynn. See you next
Okay,
week.
mine's too. Bye.
See you next time.
Yeah, so anyway, those are just the current, those are the positions that we were looking at. And yeah, they evolved a lot though. That's fascinating. But unfortunately, did she lose? No, she did not, but she just lost her. Oh, wait a second. No, she ended up with 2 rooks for a queen. But again, look at that thwart of a passed pawn. But if she can get rid of the passed pawn safely, you never know what can happen. But that's really unfortunate. Where did it flip? It's really unfortunate because she had a really nice game and she just, oh, wow, it said she's winning. She was completely winning. Okay, remember the moment, final thing let's look at. Remember the moment where H6 was played, which she shouldn't have done, but she still, finally, she gets the move in and there's softness in the position and she, okay. Again, to her credit though, it's, to be fair, it's not easy to find the win here at all. Okay, when you look at the computer, like it's like, oh, of course, but it's not that simple. But yeah, now, but it's still, there's nothing decisive going on here. And then now it says that white's winning again. Does she find it? Well, she didn't find it. She just missed her wins, basically. So just like me, I guess she's going to do more tactics or art of attack. It's not just pure tactics like puzzles, though. It's like attacking scenarios because not like a win in one move here, right? Although that apparently is. Wow. Rook takes g6. You just get the g file, huh? Is it just follow up with the second rook? You guys see that? That's it. That's where she could have. That's actually very much like a puzzle, but she only has a minute left, unfortunately. That's done. She's going to win the queen. But then she just takes and she retakes with the queen, and that's. And then, well, I mean, we can mate in different ways. We can mate like this. Or, yeah, that's too bad. That's an example of a lot of missed opportunities, huh? So instead of doing the tactical move, she goes for a slower move. And then she's winning again. And she does it. She's winning. And she's still winning. She could have done this move and then mated with the, well, it's crazy. So she missed a queen, sad. And then she could have gone here. That's too bad. She just kind of, she was low on time and she didn't, she has 30-second income move. She's, oh no. And then that's her missed win. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can explain that move. I think that was just, because of course you want to take with the rook. Yeah, unfortunately she was not finding her tactical moments. Because she was maybe worried about the pawn, but look, you take here. Oh, I can understand she's worried about this pawn thrust. But she has a mating idea on h4. No, actually, that's not easy to see at all. I don't know. That's hard to find in time pressure. I don't know about that. It's getting harder and harder, right? But apparently, final thing to look at. Apparently, she had a queen sack here. They take, check, and then bishop mates. That's beautiful. Wow. So she had like 7 wins, but unfortunately she didn't do it. And then the higher rated player is like, okay, you missed that many opportunities. I will now flip it on you, right? Can only get that many opportunities, right? And oh, she's low on time also. She's down to 36 seconds for black. But then yeah, it's not over yet, but that pawn is strong. So good stuff, huh? Great game. So you guys can follow that through Lee Chess on the broadcast. So, all right, I'm gonna stop the recording. Nice job, guys.